So let us begin with prayer for teacher and student. Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Saha Viryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavaditam Astu Ma Viddhishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. May that one protect us both. May that one nourish us both. May we work together with a great energy. May our study be illumined. May we not unnecessarily cover with each other. Peace, peace, peace be unto all. Om Stapakaya Chidharmasya Sarva Dharma Swarupine Avatara Varishtaya Ramakrishna Te Namaha. We offer our salutations to that establisher of a universal religion, embodiment of all religions, to the noblest of divine incarnations. We again offer our salutations. So this small prayer is an opening prayer which tells us a lot about our topic this evening. We're going to contemplate the subject of, or the phenomena we might call it, of Sri Ramakrishna. Much of what will be said today may well be a repetition of a talk I gave Sunday afternoon. It was. So there are three types of devotees. There are those devotees that require worship, temples, a structure of some kind, rituals, and all religions will have this basic fundamental aspect of pure philosophy, which is not just intellectual speculation, but the principles that have resulted from mystic insights, personal experience. And then we have rituals that express this, and then we have mythology, dogma, doctrine, and so on and so forth. And so three types of devotees are there, which are catered for in this structure. Of course, the highest structure, the most detailed, the most refined structure will be, I have no need for temples and churches. I have no need for rituals. I have no need for any of these things. On what basis? Not on the basis of agnosticism, but on the basis of the opposite, of Gnosticism. I know. What do I know? I know that the God that I'm looking for, I can seek him, I can find him, but I won't find him exclusively in churches and temples. I won't find him in a mountain. Many people say, oh, I'm going to Australia or I'm going to India. Why are you going? To find myself. Yeah, but you're taking yourself with you. There's a kind of cartoon I once saw, a man with a suitcase and a business suit, and he's beginning to climb a mountain. He wants to find himself. And after an arduous climb up the top, he gets to the top, and what does he find? A man with glasses, a suitcase, and or a briefcase and a suit. He found himself. So when we discover the innermost reality of our being that is described by the mystic experience and principles contained in our Vedanta scriptures, Upanishads, and encapsulated beautifully to cater for everybody in the Bhagavad Gita, then we have discovered this universal self everywhere, and there's no inside and there's no outside. There's no need for an inside structure or an outside structure. And then there's that kind of devotee that has discovered this divinity within themselves and also within others, therefore. And again, they may require other things, but the living temple that they're experiencing is that which is made from flesh and blood, not bricks and mortar. And then there's the other type that requires ritual, that requires temples, churches, that requires as many aids and helps because their view is of a dualistic world and a condition where I need to be saved. And then we can go a little longer into that, into subcategories whereby we only bring God out when we are desperate or when we are in difficult circumstances. Or, of course, there's a category which is outside the scope of devotees completely, and that is the complete agnostic or atheist that doesn't want to know anything. And most atheists would really be agnostics. But agnostics is exactly that. Suppose saying I want to find directions to Ring's End, and I ask somebody, where is it? And they say, I don't know, then their job is finished. Nothing more to be said. But somebody who says, yes, I know, you go this way and that way and so on and so forth. And that person is normally called Google Maps or something. And then you find it. So that person knows. They're useful in what you want. So agnosticism varies. Swami Vivekananda in his youth was an agnostic. But he wasn't dismissive in finding out what is the truth. He took up a responsibility of looking for something, and he didn't really find it. He, like other young people in modern Calcutta of his day, would have joined the Brahmo Samaj, which was a kind of reform movement influenced by the Christian missionary and understanding, the colonial understanding that your religion is inferior because you have all these idols and gods and goddesses and so on and so forth. And so it's better to abandon all of that. So don't have any images or anything. But we still believe in singing, and we believe in an impersonal kind of God, a formless kind of God, something like the Muslims believe in. And so qualities are there, no doubt. We can sing the praises that encapsulate these qualities and so on. But that is it. Now, what you'll notice is that this is not compatible with all-inclusiveness. So what do we mean by religious inclusiveness or exclusiveness? It's like taking tea. You can say, I will never take tea with my enemy, in which case you have an enemy, and you have a superior attitude that says, my belief or my tea is superior to anybody else's tea. And by the way, even if you like my tea, I don't like you drinking it with me. So stand in the corner somewhere, and I'll criticize your religion as much as I can, because I'm in a competitive religion. And then there is inclusiveness, which has the word tolerance. Tolerance means I'll take tea with my enemy. But you see, you still have an enemy. That's the problem. And so it's a kind of superior attitude that says, I'll tolerate you. You sit in the corner nicely. As long as you don't make any trouble, you can stay. Here's your tea. Drink it over there. And then there's the pluralism, which is all-inclusive and says, I'll take tea with anyone. I have no enemies. And so what is this phenomena that we call Ramakrishna? How does he appear to us, and what is his relevance to this day and age? We mentioned the Upanishads, we mentioned the Bhagavad Gita, but there is also something which in translation in English is called Gospel of Ramakrishna. Day-to-day conversations recorded by Mahendranath Gupta, humbly putting himself as M, and you'll see many conversations missing. Why? Well, let's give you an example. If you pick up the Gospel of Ramakrishna and look at the dates, you may see a conversation dated 2nd March. Then you go to the next conversation, and it's somewhere in 4th of April. Over a month missing. What happened during that period of time? And so there were devotees who came. And so the intimate young apostles of Ramakrishna would have gotten much more information, but not just information, instruction. They were the inner circle. And you see why we celebrate Ramakrishna today, and why devotees are devoted to Ramakrishna, is that they see Ramakrishna as the cosmic balancing power coming from age to age. We see the principle of this, the theology of this, in the Bhagavad Gita. Yada yada hi dharmasya goes like that. From age to age, I come. Why wouldn't you? The cosmic balancing power that wants to keep things in order. And out of sheer love, it comes as a Rama, as a Krishna, as a Jesus, as a Buddha, and so on, like that. The characteristic of all these incarnations, that is the Platonistic idea or the Neoplatonistic idea of Logos, and we find it coming out in the Christian John's Gospel. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and so on like that. And you see there, it gives Christianity a flavor of Vishishtadvaita. What does that mean? It means qualified non-dualism, that I see God in everything. I see God as nature and also something beyond it. It's not exactly pantheism. Pantheism, physicalism, that's something different. It's panentheism, if you will. How do you come to this conclusion? Because if you read John's Gospel, say in the beginning was the Word, and so on and so forth, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God, and every Christian believes that this is Christ. Now, then in St. Paul's letters everywhere, over 20 of them, he says, you are parts of the body of Christ. That means you're part of God. And so you'll find these three approaches, dualism, qualified non-dualism, absolute non-dualism, as these three phases. In expression, it comes out as non-worship, and as a more intimate kind of worship, and as a more external kind of worship. So, what is the principal message of this incarnation? Ramakrishna. And how did others view this being? And why is it that neither Buddha, nor Jesus, nor Ramakrishna ever asked you to worship him? None of them. Swami Vivekananda, in his lecture, Christ the Messenger, poses this hypothetical imagined question. Supposing there was somebody who likes the teaching of Jesus and says, I like your teaching. I love your teaching. Your teaching is a wonderful guideline. I will try to live your teaching. But as for you, I can't accept you as anything else than a teacher or a prophet. What would Jesus say? Would he say, well, go away? Or will he say, okay, go on your way and peace be on you and practice what you can? I'm paraphrasing the imagined conversation that Swami Vivekananda puts there in his lecture, Christ the Messenger. In other words, it's not the personality, it's the principles. And if you have the personality and not the principles, then you're forming this exclusivism that I'm talking about. Like, my religion is exclusive, and only if you worship this form, this personality. Ramakrishna wasn't saying that. Ramakrishna's great contribution to this day and age was the much needed aspect of peace and harmony. Imagine a world now where everybody understood the unity of existence everywhere, where everybody saw the fraternal or sororital aspect of the whole of humanity, where people, because of it, followed this dictum that Jiva is Shiva, that every soul is actually divine, and our duty is to see that, to notice it with a penetrating vision, and worship that. It's not about helping others. It's about serving the divine within others. And so was Ramakrishna a person born in 1836, dying in 1886? No. Ramakrishna is alive and well, here and now. And it comes in two ways. Firstly, there as the Logos, but secondly, as the movement, the reform that was made. And we are sitting here in a Vedanta center, and we have Ramakrishna as a central figure. And what is our view? Our view is he's a guru, a teacher. Akanda mandalakaram vyaptam yena characharam tatpadam darshitam yena tasmai shri gurave namaha. Jai Shri Guru Maharaj Ki Jai, we continuously say. We are not saying that he is the savior of the world, even though we made it, we believe it. But we are trying to be inclusive. And what we are saying is that the greatest teachers of all, who can be a better teacher for his day and age than the Buddha? Who could have been a better teacher in his day and age than Krishna? Who could have been a better teacher in his day and age than a Jesus? Who could have been the greatest teacher that we have in this modern age? Modern age, don't think that this was 100 years or more ago. No. If we were Christians, we'd be living in the 2nd century. We're very proximate to the absolute life. And we know this, we feel this because of the Guru Parampara that takes place. We can see how proximate we are. So if you take my guru, his guru was the Holy Mother, and her guru was Ramakrishna. You see how close it is. So we are just round the corner from this light that lights up the dark age of Kali Yuga. And what makes it appropriate, what makes it modern? This central theme, harmony of religions, that is all inclusive. Did Ramakrishna demonstrate this in his life? And is he continuing to demonstrate it through his movement, through the words of Swami Vivekananda, and through the monastic movement that was created, and the active embodiment of social service, which is not mere social service, but is a transformation and upliftment of humanity, seeing that it is the embodiment of divinity itself through hundreds and hundreds of schools, hospitals, rural upliftment program, women's upliftment. It's, we may say, the start of a new age. And so, how did Ramakrishna himself demonstrate this? He was immune to caste. He didn't have an eye for caste. He accepted everybody. He accepted those women who were vilified because of their occupation as actresses on the stage, many of them being prostitutes. Do you see an echo of Jesus' life, where he sat down and was criticized for eating with so-called sinners? He who is without sin, please cast the first stone. If you are without sin, then you see. So we can see a parallel of all these lives and a consistency of behavior which shows an equality. And right now, where communication is at its peak, where technology allows us all kinds of access to an easier life with artificial intelligence and with rapid communication and travel, we're more or less in each other's laps. Then it would be a crime not to be, in a heartfelt way, with a strong basis, all-inclusive. All-inclusive means that we follow Ramakrishna's model. He going beyond the scope of his Hindu religion. So he took everything absolutely literally. When he wanted to learn about the bhava, or that aspect of how can I be a servant and God is the master, how can I experience that? And I want to experience everything. I don't want to leave anything out. I want to experiment as much as I possibly can in a neutral way with no bias. So what will I do? I want to dress up like Hanuman. He is the embodiment of the attitude of a servant. I'll tie a tail on on the behind, and I'll climb trees, and I'll make monkey noises, and I'll try and get into that as much as possible. I'll try and merge my identity with that so that I can experience exactly, very precisely, what is this aspect of I am a servant and you're the master. And all these bhavas, all these attitudes, even the most difficult ones, he would have adopted. The most delicate one, the most refined one, is of a divine lover, the example of Radha and Krishna, divine lover. So to do that, he would dress up as a woman. shaved, and looking to all intents and purposes like a woman. Don't forget, his artistic nature made him a wonderful actor, a wonderful storyteller, a wonderful artist, sculptor, drawing pictures and so on and so forth, having an artistic outlook on life, having a practical outlook on life too, being able to give practical advice to everybody. We somehow think Ramakrishna, half the time you say good morning and he's in ecstasy. And a vacillating person like that. No, there was a practical side to him. When Holy Mother was only 14 years of age, and she spent some time with him at his place in Kamalpuka, he taught her the practical things as well as everything else. She was his first disciple. She was a delicate age of 14 years of age only. So we see this many-faceted individual. And I asked somebody here, what do you make of Ramakrishna? I don't know. Even the closest apostles said we can never figure him out. Yes, that is true, because he says, I have done all 16, referring to the monetary system, 16 anas. You need only to do one of them, 1/16th. And 1/16th, you'll get the glory of it. How to follow such a person and study the life of such a person in great, great detail. You see, if you take him as a model, and we have every reason to take him as a model, we cannot find any single fault with him. And so when we say God, what are we talking about? Some abstraction, unless we have a living person like a Jesus or a Buddha, or in our own time a Ramakrishna. That would be the highest model. Whether it is literally so or not, we're not worried about it. The example of somebody who is close to the truth to that extent. And so, how did Swami Vivekananda, the skeptic, view Ramakrishna? In the beginning, as a curiosity. But then, as a curiosity to which he was incredibly attached to, challenging him all the way, and not being afraid to be blunt and rude, offending many people about it. How can you speak to this man like this? But you see, toward the end of his life in the Kashipu garden house, it was Ramakrishna who gave everything. He says, now I'm a poor man, I've given everything to you. All my powers I have given to you. And so we can see that Ramakrishna continued to live in the thoughts, the operational plans, the outpourings of speeches that we find in 9 volumes, complete works, all coming through the mouth of Vivekananda. Vivekananda is Ramakrishna by extension. And we can also say that our sister Nivedita is Vivekananda by extension. So we have some evidence of conversations with regard to Swami Vivekananda's view. And it comes from reminiscence from Ramendra Sundara Bhattacharya. He says, we, that means his father and himself. We first went to the Bhavatarini Kali temple, that means the temple where the Mother Kali in benign aspect stands, and bowed down to the Divine Mother. Then we went to the master's room, but he wasn't there. A young man told us that he'd gone towards the Panchavati, and we went there and found him watching the Ganga. Straight away, we have a scene suitable for meditation. Imagine standing there with this great master and watching with him the flow of the Ganga. A couple of young devotees were with him, and the master was pleased to see my father, he says, and inquired about his welfare. I saw my father fully prostrate on the dusty ground and touch the feet of the master. He took the dust of the master's feet and put it on his head, as well as on mine. He then said to me, I told you that I would show you a living God. He's saying to his son, this is the person, bow down to him and touch his feet. I told you that I would show you a living God. Now, we often get an impression in Indian religious culture of little exaggeration, because we have so many people who are God men and God women and saints and this and that and the other, all kinds of things are there. And we might see an element of gullibility there. So we have to dispense with that suspicion and read on a little bit. Anyway, accordingly, I prostrated myself at the master's feet. He placed his hand on my head and said, my child, get up. Then he blessed me, saying, you will live long and be a pundit. And that became true, of course. I was overwhelmed when I bowed down to him. And he touched my head. Although I was not in a normal state of consciousness, I heard his blessings distinctly, and his words rang in my ears for a while. Now, these are opportunities when we see these personal experiences. These are opportunities for us to replay a whole scene and to be present in the scene and feel what they felt. This is, of course, part of the launching pad that we call meditation. Anyway, on that day, my father had a short conversation with the master, and then we returned to Kolkata. That was my first and last visit to the master. And although I was then a young boy, and this happened so long ago, he's still vivid in my mind's eye. He was tall, this is beautiful. He was tall and well-shaped, a good-looking man with a face that was bright and joyful. We sometimes think Swami Vivekananda is tall, but he wasn't. He was shorter than Ramakrishna. Ramakrishna was about 5'10", something like that. So he was tall and well-shaped. His complexion was not white but fair, and my father told me, during his youth, the master's complexion was golden. When he practiced severe austerities, his body became emaciated, and the brightness of his complexion diminished to some extent. Then he says, it is due to my good karma and virtue acquired over hundreds of lives that I saw Sri Ramakrishna with my own eyes. In encountering the personality, even at a distance, of Ramakrishna, it is surely because we have good merit from previous actions. There's nothing to be proud about because we are still flawed beings. I often say to people, I have many flaws and ceilings also. Anyway, so 2.5 years after my visit, one night I saw the master in a dream, he says. And looking just as he had when I met him, he said to me, my child, are you well? I am leaving. And as I heard this, I awoke startled. Later I learned that the master had passed away that same night. Don't forget, he only met him once, and as a small boy. Then he says, I saw Swami Vivekananda a few times. After his return from the West, a professor of the Scottish Church College, who was one of Swamiji's teachers, was fond of me. And he loved Swamiji and had a high opinion of him. But the professor was disappointed when he heard that this talented college student, don't forget he's a Christian, had become a disciple of a Brahmin priest and taken monastic vows. One day, Swamiji, the Swami Vivekananda, went to see the professor at his home. And by the way, it is likely that Swami Vivekananda spoke English with a slight Scottish accent because of this influence. Anyway, at that time, Swamiji was a sannyasin, but was not yet the world-famous Vivekananda yet. The professor said to him, well, Naran, what have you done? You have enslaved yourself to a mad priest. I also hear that you consider that priest to be a god and believe that he has come to this world as a savior. Now here's the tricky part. If we say Ramakrishna was God, we can keep that to ourselves. But if we want to be truly inclusive, how can you say it to Christians who only have one incarnation? You don't want to get into an exclusive theological bun fight. Forget it. And you don't want to fight with Muslims. And you don't want to fight with Shaivites who don't believe in the Vaishnavite concept of incarnation. So, why should we insist on this? Keep it privately to ourselves. In time, people understand. Swami Vivekananda once wrote, he says, if I had taught the personality of Ramakrishna, I may have converted half the world. But then it would have been a shrinkage, not an expansion. It would have been a shrinkage. And of course, he would have made another religion, completely against this inclusive idea of harmony religions. Let's go back to how Ramakrishna practiced this inclusiveness, going beyond the pale of his own various methodologies within Hinduism. He goes and he seeks a Sufi master, and there he doesn't look at any deities. He behaves exactly like a Muslim in every literal way, as he had done with every other avenue or pathway. In other words, if you want to experience what a Muslim is experiencing, then why don't you also fast for the period of Ramadan that began a few days back, one day back maybe. A difficult fast, more difficult when the days are longer. So between sunrise and sunset, not even water is taken. Of course, you can eat afterwards, but it requires a discipline. And what is it doing? It's using the fast to control all the senses if you do it in the right spirit. If you don't, then you may be meditating the whole day on food. What a pity. I can't wait for sunset. Let's now eat, and eat sumptuously. See? So according to the letter, not the spirit. When he practiced Christianity, he had visions. In Jadu Malik's house, he saw this big picture. It's still there today, not far from, just outside the Dakshinaswar compound. And there you'll see he was inspired by this picture of the Madonna and child and got the vision. He got the vision of Jesus to the extent that when he was shown an artist's impression of Jesus, he said, no. Jesus had a much flatter nose. So there's no doubt that Ramakrishna believed and saw Christ. Not only that, but he identified a number of his intimate Ishwarakotis, his intimate companions, as companions of Jesus also. And of course, we know that Swami Brahmananda was identified as one of the companions of Krishna. That is why we have that beautiful song, which is sung some time ago. It's a long time since I heard it. Shepherd Boy, sung so beautifully, it'll bring tears to your eyes. And to the Irish tune, she moves to the fair, I think it is the tune. So recalling Swami Brahmananda's words in his last days and connecting with his previous experience as a shepherd boy. Anyway, Swami Vivekananda is now under criticism from a Christian professor who cannot believe that such an intelligent boy saw this Ramakrishna as a god. So the conversation goes like this. Well, Narayan, what have you done? You have enslaved yourself to a mad priest. I also hear that you consider that priest to be a god and believe that he has come to this world as a savior. How is it possible that you could believe such an incredible story? And Swamiji calmly replied, Sir, you have heard correctly. I believe that he, that is Sri Ramakrishna, was God himself and had taken a human form to save humanity. Previously, I had the same opinion about him as you do. I was agreeing with you. And I told him that many times, imagine. Incarnation, you're not an incarnation. He used to have conversations with Girish Chandra Ghosh, who was adamant this is God incarnate. He also went from skepticism. These gurus, what's the need of a guru? This man is feigning this, and he wants free entrance into my dramatic shows. and he changed his mind and became the ardent promoter of the divinity of Ramakrishna. And so he told him many times, he was like a child, says Swami Vivekananda. Ramakrishna was like a child. He would laugh as he listened to my opinion, in contrast to us. Computer science, bah, what? Immediate reaction would be there. Incarnation, divine, holy person, bah, it's all in your head. Heated brain. You're a mad person. And Ramakrishna laughed like a child. So he said, am I asking you to believe in me? Says Ramakrishna. Sir, at last I was forced to believe who he was, says Swami Vivekananda. One day he revealed to me that he was God himself and that he had appeared in the form of Ramakrishna. He was Rama, he who was Rama and he who was Krishna. Both were manifested in Ramakrishna's body. He showed me separately the form of Rama and the form of Krishna, and then both merged into his own body. Sir, it was not a hallucination. I saw this with my own eyes. Apart from that, I have seen, understood, and realized in many ways that he was God himself. This I heard directly from the professor, this conversation. And he also told me, I knew Naran very well. He was not a person to be hoodwinked with any kind of fakery. I understood that day that Naran did not believe Ramakrishna to be God from blind faith. And afterwards, Naran's epic life proved that Ramakrishna was not an ordinary person. Then he continues, several times the master came to me in a dream and asked me to write his biography in Sanskrit verse. And he did it. At first I considered these commands to be to just be dreams. But when I reached 80 years of age, the master again appeared to me in a dream and reminded me to write the story of his life in Sanskrit. When I mentioned my age and broken health, he said, don't worry, you start writing. Many may not believe my story, he says, but I received the master's command many times. And at the age of 84, I finished writing his biography. It was with the master's blessing that I was able to write and publish Sri Ramakrishna Bhagavatam. It is the master's grace that he made me write this book. So, these remarkable stories, well, I'll continue because there's only a little. I am a poor Brahmin and I gave no thought about the money needed to publish this book. The government of India provided a grant for its publication. Many distinguished people have appreciated this book, including Suniti Kumar Chattopadhyaya, the National Professor of India, and Indira Gandhi, at that time the Prime Minister of India, and Swami Vireshwarananda, who happens to be my guru, the President of the Ramakrishna Math and Mission. I realized that Ramakrishna was God in human form. By his grace, the dumb become eloquent and the lame scale mountains. His infallible blessing literally came true in my life. You will live long and be a Pandit. I have lived a long life and I became a Pandit. I have seen Sri Ramakrishna and touched his feet. Whether I understood it or not, Bhagavan Sri Ramakrishna saw me and touched my head, though only once. I know his glance and touch made me fortunate for everyone, forever. And this was published in the Udbodhan office. There was a certain volume 94, number 2. It's published there. So that's a remarkable testimony and puts us in a closer way to the personality and divinity of Ramakrishna. Now, what should we do in international centers where, in order to follow this harmony of religions and be all-inclusive, should we promote the personality of Ramakrishna? I think evidently not. Otherwise, Swami Vivekananda himself would have done it. And so we have to draw a fine line, because devotees, through divine grace, will see this divinity and be blessed by it. But then you see, emphasizing it will, beyond a private affair, will not be inclusive at all. Should we introduce in international centers foreign culture, foreign to those people who we wish to spread Ramakrishna's message to? What was Ramakrishna's message? It was the unity of existence. The harmony of religions was based on the unity that we find in all the Upanishads, the unity of the self, and expressed actively in service to humanity, creating a huge movement to do that. I always think that there was a great transformation in Jesus' movement that later became to be known as Christianity. The word Christ Jesus wouldn't have known. So, how did it go from an obscure Jewish sect living in Jerusalem, quite normally, believing that there would be end times around the corner, apocalyptic movements like that? It required a great personality. And without St. Paul, no transformation would have taken place, because he took it broader. He became more inclusive. He said, you don't have to have a special diet. You don't have to be Jewish. This salvific merit is found in a universal way for everyone, for all beings. I always remember when we were on one journey up to Northern Ireland, and we stopped as usual at the cathedral there. What's it called? The Armagh Cathedral there, yes. Headquarters of the Catholic Church for the whole of Ireland. And I was there, I was with another monk. I think it was the monk visiting from Germany. Anyway, this person came up and said, oh, what religion are you? I think because one of their children had been joined a Vaishnavite organization, ISKCON probably or something. So I said, I am Catholic in the authentic sense of the word, in the true sense of the word. Catholic means universal. I'm a universalist. Why would I pigeonhole myself in this or that or the other? Is it important to follow your cultural tradition? Yes. Why? You see, there was a great conversation between one of the Shankaracharyas and a person who came to him for conversion to Hinduism. And he was told by the Shankaracharya, it's not possible, we don't do this thing called conversion. Why is that? Surely you think your religion is the best? He says, well, we can't convert you to a religion that you're already a member of. Everyone is a Hindu. But what does it mean? Does it mean that we have to adopt cultural standards and norms and ways? No. What it means is that Hinduism is so broad that every single and any single expression of it can be adopted, because we're all constitutionally different. That becomes inclusive. So that, for example, if we have to cater for those people who require songs, rituals, and a certain cultural standard and norm that they're used to, should we have a hymn book which should also include hymns which are familiar to the indigenous people, the local people which are there? Or should we leave them out completely and only teach the Vedanta philosophy? But then what about those people who require the philosophy and a way of expressing it, singing it? So we have to be extremely careful about inclusiveness and exclusiveness, and not take for granted that people have to convert in any way. There's no conversion taking place. And so this conversation between the Shankaracharya and the Christian went something like that. He says, no, you're already a Hindu. I can't convert you to a religion that you're already a member of, but you may not know it, of course. And then he says, You believe in God? Yes, yes, okay. Well, do you think God made a mistake? That you were born in a certain geographical location or a certain historical era? You think God was a fool? You think you should have rather been born somewhere else with a different culture? So in this way, he persuaded him. No, of course. The God is put you in this particular position for your growth. And in this way, he persuaded him to go back to his own religion. And in this way, he persuaded him to, there must be some enlightened person in your tradition that you can get. And when you identify such a person, what will you find? You'll find the truth that we're all teaching there. That is why Swami Vivekananda put as a kind of mission statement to make a Christian a better Christian, a Muslim a better Muslim, a Hindu a better Hindu, a Buddhist a better Buddhist. In his Parliament of Religion speeches, he says, we don't intend to convert anybody and nobody should convert us. It's worthwhile reading and studying those beautiful, beautiful summary speeches that he gave at the Parliament of Religions. His second speech was a very simple story. Why do we disagree? And there, every step of the way, he's teaching this inclusiveness, this harmony of religions. So we have to include everybody. That is the central theme of harmony of religions. Now, if we examine most of the difficulties and wars and bloodshed that we have experienced over historical time, other than the last two world wars, and maybe the current one of the current wars today, more blood, and I'm quoting Vivekananda, more blood has been shed in the name of God and religion than any other cause in the world. Of course, he was talking prior to the world wars. Now, we may not be shedding blood over it, although even today that's still happening in many parts of the world. But still, we are poisoning each other with words and with thoughts, excluding people, criticizing people, one-upmanship, competitive religion, getting involved in this, thinking my religion, my culture is superior. And this is the difficulty. And this is what Ramakrishna came and said, take all that away, please. Water is water. If you take it from a lake, you may call it jal, you may call it something else, you may call it agua, you may call it water, and different words are there, but it's the same thing. And he wasn't speaking in a theoretical way. He was speaking from his own experimental and absolutely evidenced and proven experience, his own direct experience, and his wonderful message. I can do it, I've done it, you also can do it. Every person can do it. We have this infinite possibility in us to become completely free. So this is the wonderful part of the wonderful message of Sri Ramakrishna and the light that he brought in these modern times. And what does Ramakrishna mean to us? It means all of these things that we have said and more. You see, Swami Vivekananda composes this hymn to him and goes from a skeptic to this position where he composes the song. He says that we adore you, and then he gives the reason, because you are the one who breaks our worldly bondages. And so you are honored for this reason, because we're all in bondage. You're honored by all mankind, not just by this sect or that sect. And you are at once the transcendent attributeless being and the divine person with attributes. So when you say, no, I can't figure out Ramakrishna, it's because we get that glimpse of the transcendent and the immanent. And then he was absolutely stainless. So who else can we visualize to be God? What form should we think of when we think of God except some perfected thing, some perfected person, some embodiment coming as a human. We don't have to construct some kind of artificial anthropomorphic form for it. The historical form is enough. And so he comes redeeming us completely. And he has pure consciousness condensed, Vivekananda writes. And his eyes sanctify everyone with the collyrium of jnana, knowledge, pure knowledge. His very look will shatter your delusion of ignorance. Just him looking at you will do it. In Vivekananda's case, a touch did it. You are truly an ocean of luminous and lofty spiritual sentiments, he says. And they're ever lashed into waves of inebriating love. Nobody loved me more than the Master, says Vivekananda. Their holy feet are devotion's reward, and they form a vessel to carry me across the ocean of samsara. You are the Lord of the universe, manifest as the incarnation for this modern age. This is Vivekananda talking, the skeptic. You've come for helping mankind in its spiritual endeavor. By your grace, I clearly see it. Without that grace, we won't see it. And Ramakrishna's whole mind was established in the transcendent state of ecstatic bliss samadhi, oneness. So he has the capacity to shatter the mass of mankind's sorrows. He is mercy condensed, and he's a worker tremendous. He's saying this because of his living with him and serving him, being in close proximity with him. And his life was an offering of love for the redemption of mankind, even with cancer of the throat, still speaking, still transforming lives. Dr. Sarkar told him, please don't talk and don't go into samadhi. You're aggravating your condition. Then spoke to him for hours on end. You're the conqueror of lust and greed. These are the two things. What was Ramakrishna's teaching, central practical teaching? That we should conquer these two genetic directives, lust and greed. These are the two things that perpetuate our myth that this world is real. And the spurn of all enticements of sensuous attractions. And then he's asking, bestow on us unflinching love for your blessed feet, because our little love cannot match this reciprocal love, or this love that is unasked for. What is true love? I never asked for it, but it's there anyway. Imagine. And so, what is Ramakrishna's mind? He was observed to have been above all fears, having no doubts whatsoever, firm in the resolve, giving us the example, innocent of pride of birth and race, taking off his caste identity, putting it to one side, and living in this essence of unity, feeling the unity of existence, therefore teaching the harmony of religions. And then having an attitude that says, with this divine attitude, how do you view the world? It's very serious. I have this, I have that, so-and-so doesn't like me, and all kinds of problems I have, and work is giving me problems, and life is giving me problems, and relatives are ill, and what to do about the children, and all of this. No, a person with this attitude, dispensing grace everywhere, will see this world as something like a small puddle made by the hoof of a calf. It's not serious, it's not big. Whatever problem you have will not be there in 50 years' time, guaranteed. And so, worthy of repeated worship, salutations, because no, we cannot understand you, because you are Brahman, and Brahman is, according to Upanishads, beyond speech and mind. The mind comes back together with speech. But yet, the basis for speech, the basis for thought. And so whatever luminary thing is, that being is the light of all those lights, resplendent. And we can think of that being in the cavity of the heart, where is the best place for meditation for most people. And so it goes on. So this is Vivekananda's beautiful, beautiful composition in Bengali, but expressing the sentiment that he has, transforming himself from a skeptic, an outspoken skeptic in the Brahma Samaj, criticizing his brother, his monastic brother, as it came to be eventually, Rakal, Swami Brahmananda, for going on prostrating before Mother Kali. And look at the inclusiveness. He was capable of going into Nirvikalpa Samadhi, no temples, no churches, no worship. He was capable of doing away with all of it as a Muslim. He was capable of understanding the sentiment of Christ and Christianity. And yet he still bowed before the temple, still bowed before the mother. How much more inclusive can you be? You can't draw a line anywhere. Everyone is true, everyone is correct. As Swami Vivekananda says, you don't go from error to truth, you go from truth to higher truth continuously. Well, that's a little bit about a reflection on Sri Ramakrishna on this special day. Thanks.
Thank you, Swamiji.
Thank you, Swamiji.
Thank you, Swamiji.
Thank you,
Thank
Swami.
you. Thank you, Swamiji.
Thank you, Swamiji.